Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show. Everyone deserves a chance. Today, we have a special guest. His name is Roman Tomkiv. He's a good friend of mine. We met in a mastermind community, Rock Thomas M1, somewhere around 2018. Roman is a happy, married, great husband, passionate hospitality entrepreneur, real estate investor, and Ironman athlete. Roman, thank you for coming in and welcome. I'm going to let you do the presentation moving forward. So can you please tell us your story?
Awesome. Thank you, Silvius, for having me. I really appreciate your time and effort for doing this. I guess, how do I start? Could I just, in a nutshell, basically, I'm used to be, like you mentioned, I'm a happily married guy, just married last year. So we're actually going to celebrate our first anniversary on June 10th. So that's an exciting milestone.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was, COVID, some people say it was, obviously it was a bad thing for the whole world, but kind of came as a blessing for me because I was able to leave my W-2 job, got married, traveled pretty much. I think I visited 20 plus states, lived in Dubai for like 3 months. So it was a lot of good things happened during COVID for me. But kind of answer your question. What I do now, I'm a full-time, I'm in hospitality. I do short-term rental management. I'm also probably 10 plus years in as a real estate investor. So always been in that kind of world. Starting out as a part-time because I was spent about a decade in the finance. I worked in Wall Street. And then COVID hit. I was like, all right, I gotta find a way not to go back to the office, right? Like I had some investments. We had like a good commercial real estate deal that we were about to sell that gave me, a good kind of cushion for me to leave W-2. And I was like, all right, this is a perfect moment. I'm a big believer. I forgot who said it. There's a good saying, don't let good crisis go to waste. And I think I was, I don't know if you heard, there was like the big resignation during COVID. People were just leaving their jobs right and left. And I guess I became the statistic in that back in 2021. So I'm here in Austin now. We moved back in December. I love it. The weather, people, everything. There's a lot of opportunities here. So I do full-time property management, focusing on short-term rentals. So that's kind of my professional side of things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. The reason that I wanted you in my call today is because we share some common traits as entrepreneurs. And I know you started multiple dealings, multiple businesses, and kind of all in the real estate realm, I would call it, right? I know you had a trailer park at one point. I also know you own properties in Denver for a while, and then you decided to take that business to a different level, and you got associated with Casa Go. And I'm going to plug them right here because I know this is something that you're actively doing right now. I know a little bit about your journey because I've been following it. We've been to Mexico together last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember, man.
It was last year, yeah.
Last year, time flies, and we've been doing so many things. Yeah, with Nicholas Spoon, right? Nick has a great course on that regard, and it was an amazing place to reconnect and to talk about our business endeavors. I want to know, because I know you've been through a lot of things, through ups and downs, and I want to know, what was your biggest aha moment in your entrepreneurial life that completely changed the course of your success? So I'm not sure if it was COVID. I'm not talking about that personal moment. I'm talking about the entrepreneurial moment. Like, is there something there that you remember that you can share with us? Because I know we all go through these hoops.
Yeah, I think the big one was, and again, it goes into the personal development world. I call it like my second birthday. It was literally July 23rd, 2017. I was at my first Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within. And that was during that moment, like right after I left, I was like, my big aha was like, I'm not free. And at that time, I worked at Wall Street. I I finished business school in 2015, got my MBA, and I was kind of, that was my thing. I wanted to be, work on Wall Street, so I'm going to make millions. But when I actually got there, it was just the different, I started looking around, people been there for 20 plus years. Someone happy, not happy, the whole, kind of cutthroat mentality. And I was like, well, this is not what I signed up for, right? And I think I was looking, I kind of grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My parents, again, I'm originally from Ukraine, and during the Soviet Union collapse in the 90s, my parents lost their jobs and they had to kind of hustle. So they started, selling stuff, flea markets, and like saw they were like pretty much 24/7. So I kind of grew up in that, and maybe somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew this whole corporate thing is not for me, but I was for some reason, I guess, climbing the wrong ladder. And like from that moment, I was like, I'm not free. I was like handcuffed, and I started researching, real estate. I was always intrigued by that. I like the tangible asset, owning something that's real. It's not going to go in value overnight like a stock market. But I think to kind of answer your question, the big one is tie into the employee versus a business owner mindset, right? So that was a huge one, where you like a consumer versus a producer. So I think keeping that in mind, and that's kind of the biggest driver, because being an entrepreneur, you at least have a chance to go as high as you want because it's up to you. Versus if you're an employee, you're always in that box. Even if you can make $1 million salary, but still you're limited, right? You're in that box. But if you're an entrepreneur, like the sky is the limit. So I guess I would say having that aha moment, like, hey, I don't want to have that employee mindset. Like I want to be in the business world.
So you started now. Let me piggyback on a couple of things here. One of them is a question directly to you, because I have the same thing. I'm coming from Romania, Eastern Europe, and tangible assets are something that I feel like we've always had those embedded in our mind by maybe the society that we live there. At least what I know in Romania, everybody had their house paid off. There
Oh
was
yeah,
no bank that would
exactly.
allow you a mortgage on the house. So you could not own something if you didn't have money. You cannot buy a car on a loan. It was just you have the money or you don't have the money. You're not going to have a car if you don't have the money. It's that simple. So I grew up in that mentality. Maybe is this something that got us so intrigued about real estate when we came to the United States? Do you think that had something to do with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the stock market, I mean, up to this point, it's not, I mean, it's obviously Europe, United States, but it wasn't the thing. Like people don't understand. Like I grew up, it wasn't the thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy, a stock of Apple. Like, what is that? You don't. It's like if I don't touch it and if I don't have it, that means it doesn't exist. And I think to your point, yeah, I mean, I grew up in during the 80s and the 90s. There were huge inflations. The currency basically disappeared overnight as the Soviet Union disappeared. So like, but if you have your real estate, like this is yours. It's not going to go away, regardless of any economic situation. So I think that's actually a valid point that you
I'll
bring
take a
in.
great advice out of this, and I'm going to put it out there for everybody. Yes, I did witness like the same process that you're talking about, the Soviet Union. It happened with the Romania, with the communists, when the communist bloc fell. My father had 70,000 lei, the Romanian currency, and I can call it $70,000. He had them. He had those money in a bank account, and that's how much it cost for him to buy a car, a brand new car. Regardless of the time you had to wait 5-10 years to get a car, you have to have the money. Now, few years later, my father was able to buy a used car, I think for like $600 worth. Out of the 70,000, only $600, right? That's how much he used, and for the price of that car. But then my aunt was able to buy a refrigerator with $70,000.
There you go.
So my
Yeah,
father got it a year before, then a year later, the same value of money went to like a refrigerator. So what's happening with inflation in the United States, and I'm not going to put it out there, I don't know if that's the case. It's a speculation, pure speculation. But at the end of it, real estate stands. The house that my father had back then, they still have it today. And it's still worth a lot of money. It always did. It was a tangible asset. The cars and everything else lost value. You know how it goes. But other than that, that investment stays safe. So I took that to heart, and now I'm witnessing the inflation that we're having here. The paper inflation, whatever says 7%, I totally don't believe it. I'm looking at tomato prices, so I know the real inflation number based on how much the eggs cost, right? That's how we used to go to the market. I'm like, what's the real price of the products? We never listen to the governments, and at this point, somebody else has control of our finances. Somebody else has control of our money in the society. They're witnessing inflation. I don't know where this is going to go. Again, speculation 100%, but it could go to the thousands. Like we've witnessed it in different countries before. If our system fails, then a lot of things are going to happen to our money. So real estate stands, and this is one of the reasons why I hang tight to syndication and commercial real estate. I'm looking for the needs, and I know that people need a place to stay. And this is where I'm going to plug in my syndication, Legends Equity Group that I work with. This is what we do. We actually offer people a place to stay. And this is what a syndication does. And by us running the business, we've got to make sure that everybody stays happy, like the people renting and the investors in the same time. That's one of the tangents that I wanted to throw out there. And also another one, I want you maybe to a little bit go deeper and explain us. You're a worker, right? You do have an MBA, you're highly educated, you work on Wall Street, which not a lot of people get there. At one point, you were working for Merrill Lynch, right?
Bank of America, I worked at JP Morgan and then Bank of America, yeah.
Yes, and you didn't say that, but you worked as a vice president, so you weren't just a worker somewhere over there down the line. You were on a high spot. The 2017 event, Tony Robbins event, it keeps coming up, man. Tony Robbins and UPW, you're not the only person mentioning. I'm always talking about it. That was my first major development event, and I urge anybody that can go to one of these events to go. But as action steps, so one day you woke up and you just decided to go to Tony Robbins?
No, I think it was, like I mentioned, it was a combination both of kind of, we set big goals, right? Like, and once we hit them, I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next, right? And I think that was one of those, it's a mix of that plus the actual goal when I achieved it, right? For example, go to business school, get, Wall Street job, and then, okay, I'm here. I'm trying to see, how does it feel? And I'm like, okay, this is like, what's my next goal, right? And I start seeing the whole corporate thing. You got to work a couple of years to get it promoted, but then again, you're in the same boat, right? It's not like something brand new or exciting. Yeah, you may get, 20, 30, 50 grand more, but like, it's not, you're still in it. Like you're still in the same, basically, either a company or industry. So it's not as like, there's hard to have an exponential growth, right?
Okay.
It's hard to be. And then I was like, I think I saw my body went through the firework, like, you do walk on fire.
Yes.
Again, it's all kind of messing up with your head and like get your mindset, getting out of your fear zone. And I think I saw them, like, I want to go in and see what it is. I had no idea. I mean, I think I listened to Tony's videos, but I had no idea what to expect. And I think that's the best way, even for your audience, if they want to go, like, have no expectations, right? Especially a lot of these, because I think people come into a lot of personal development events and they like, oh man, I want this. I'm like, I'm gonna just go with open mind and just you'll get something out of it, right? So for me, it was completely like life-changing event. Like I did, got into real estate, got into like running marathons, Ironmans, quit coffee. Like it was just whole bucket of things I changed in my life.
So Tony Robbins, that event was what moved the needle in the right direction for you. But then what some actionable steps you took? So you went to Tony Robbins, and let's say the next, I know about a week it lasts, the hype and the adrenaline that you have from the event. And then what did you start doing? Like,
I think my hype was for 6 months, man. I was like on fire. I was just talking to, like, just basically doing what he was recommending. I would do the miracle morning. I did the whole.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to stop you right there because you said the magic word. I'm scrolling through things today, and I want to point it out. I show it to the audience as well. He's talking about this guy. Oh, where's the camera?
Yeah.
Right here.
Hell Elrod, yeah.
Yes. This is the author or Miracle Morning. And because I know how tall are you, I'm looking, I'm like, this guy is tall too. I'm like, I never met Hal, but I had today a live call with him. I had a live call with the Front Row Dads. They had a summit today, and I was
Okay.
part of a summit, and for 3 hours and a half, and I had no idea Hal is going to be the main speaker of the event. And he came in and he presented us the pledge that he did to his wife.
Wow, okay.
So he had like the whole thing, and he says it's posted, is in my bedroom, and he was explaining relationships. And we're gonna get there because that's the main thing, the core part of this podcast. But yes, being around like-minded individuals is something that really sparks me. Like I'm so happy that Hal was in the same room, I was in the same space with him, and he gave me some golden nuggets. Congratulations on that picture. You're gonna tell us more about the events. So now I want to get down to that action step because I know you had it. It was Tony Robbins. It was 6 months after Tony Robbins while you were doing what? Because you still have your W2 job. You
Oh
didn't quit
yeah.
the next
Yeah,
day,
I
right?
was
So I don't want anybody to jump into conclusion that after you go to an event, you quit your job,
yeah,
right?
no. I mean, even people, some people do, but I wouldn't recommend just out of the blue, out of the kind of, hey, screw that, I'm out. Yeah, I think the big one is like I think I was under like so much fire as like what's possible. Like I realized like, oh my God, like all my potential I'm just not using. And
The
I was
limiting beliefs were shattered, right?
purely driven by like pushing myself, right? Like getting up in the morning, doing that. Cause like I had just so comfortable life. I wasn't pushing. And again, I think it's not for everybody, right? There's nothing wrong with having a good job or being, in the corporate world, like, right? I'm not saying you should go and do that, but I guess if you're looking like you're like, I know I can do more, right? Like I can, do these other things. I'm just either bored or tired, like, that way you'll know there's a fire. Action step, again, I got into M1. That's kind of the personal development. How would I explain, for the folks? It's
I'll
more
help
like
you. I'll help you out a little bit if you
yeah,
want.
like a
So
main
M1,
group
it's a mastermind.
yeah, mastermind. Yeah. So again, I was like looking around, all these people are doing their own thing, being successful entrepreneurs, and that even fired me more because if you go to school, all that, they don't teach you, right? They don't teach you how to invest in real estate. They don't even teach you how to use your credit cards to your advantage, right? Like you go in and spend thousands of dollars of getting educated, and all it does is like to make you a good employee to go get a job. They don't really teach you how to be a business owner or entrepreneur, kind of get your ideas out there. So surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing already what you want to do. So that's like I would action step number one, and then just pretty much talk to them, get as much information. I remember I would be on a call every single day with all the people, the mastermind. I think we had about 200 folks. So I would literally like bug everybody on Facebook. Hey, can I talk to you? Tell me what you do, right? What's your journey? Because I was like so fascinated because was a different world for me. Because all I knew is you go to school, college, business school, and you get a job and then you go work, right? And that's it. But this opened up a whole new world for me. And I was like, oh my God, like I was literally like in first grade, I was like
I I
learning
remember
from
my
all these
journey. So
folks.
yes, so getting genuinely interested into what other people are doing, especially people that are in front of you. That's what you said, and I'm gonna point it out. Um, being in the right circle, creating your circle of trust, having the right people that you can call and you can talk to and ask advice. And I think that's what we both went through with M1 with Rock Thomas's mastermind, and it was extremely helpful. But then I personally went on a down spiral or up spiral, I can say, not down, of trying every business that somebody else was doing. I start doing things that other people are doing just to see if it works. And some of them worked, some of them didn't. But finally, I landed into this commercial space. And I know you landed into the short term rental management properties right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had an interesting conversation with a friend a few days ago, who's trying to do what we already did. And I didn't know how to say it, but politely, don't do it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save this for the next call. But pretty much, I started two-row renting my own car when I didn't have a car in New York City, because
Uh-huh.
I know that a guy in M1 in our mastermind was doing it and he was successful. So quickly, I grabbed the credit card and I went, I purchased two cars, like within 2 days of each other. And I started my own business in Jersey City because it was illegal to do it in New York City, but I was delivering at New York City airports. So
Okay.
I did that for about a year, up until I realized that the people that I was spending my time with now became the car wash people. I had to be at the car wash like 2 times a day to deliver, pick up the car, clean up the car, do this some hours, 3, 4 hours a day. I was in a car wash. So I'm like, hold your horses. I'm making very good money, but do I really do what I want to do with my time? So I stepped back. I'm like, nah, I can't do this. And COVID came in right away and it helped me decide. I dropped the business completely. Although people in that business got rich with COVID in New York City because everybody wanted to escape from New York City and there was no way out, just renting cars. So it was a good business, but it wasn't a good business model for me. Then I got myself an Airbnb, but I was using arbitrage model. So in New York City, it was illegal to rent an apartment, but there were also people that were doing it from different countries who didn't care about the law. They were like 5,000 and some change of listings in New York City. And then I associated myself with a savvy investor that was already doing it for a long time, had an apartment, and I got the management part of it, hands on. I tried that, it was successful. I made some money, and then I discovered the real potential. What if I own the actual properties? And that's what drove me into real estate and creating real wealth and value. And I want to bring it up to here because a lot of people are trying all these small businesses and they see other people being successful at them. They just don't realize that the real wealth is behind owning the actual asset, owning the properties, or having a company to manage them like you're doing right now.
Yeah, again, you're in a world you're starting out, and especially it feels like you can do everything. It's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, right? And for folks, especially who never own anything, like owning a house, that could be scary. And obviously buying something, that's a different model. So, but yeah, after at the end of the day, like owning a real estate, that's the one of the forms of wealth creation, and then owning your business with mixed with the real estate, that kind of gives you that power for bringing real estate and getting cash flow. You have a lot of, as you know, tax advantages.
That's what
Um,
you're constantly doing. As far as I've followed your journey, that's what you're doing. You're buying, you're selling, you're buying, you're selling, and you're managing for yourself and other people in the same time. And you stay into your own space. You have the
yeah, like I
management firm,
like
right?
the hospitality aspect of it. I've tried, I kind of almost got into this by accident. I still have that duplex in Charlotte. I bought it right before COVID when I moved, kind of back in 2019, and I was renting one side long term. And I literally, I think, went through like 25 or 30 different applicants. I kind of was doing myself because I lived in the other side on on
The
the
other half.
neighboring duplex side. And then I couldn't rent it. And like one of the friends, our mutual friend, from Charlotte, then they were like, oh, would you consider doing as arbitrage? I was like, what's that? And I'm like, as long as I get I think it was like 1,600 bucks or something, like, I don't really care. And I saw they start doing it. I was like, oh, wow, that works. And I ended up renting when I lived, and I started traveling during COVID, and it basically paid for my trip. And then I discovered the power of actually, like I call active renting, right? Like active versus just the long term, it's kind of passive
Passive,
gain,
yes,
even
correct.
though there's no such thing as passive in real estate unless you buy in just the REIT, which is, like a real estate investment trust, like a stock. So you don't do anything, but and I enjoyed the whole active aspect of it, like guests and getting turnovers and all that stuff. It's just more exciting. Obviously, making more money. So I think I kind of found my niche where I'm now. I'm owning a company that's kind of we're doing on a professional level.
Yeah, you're definitely growing with every step of the way. Now you are calibrated, I can say it that way, into this niche that you already know. You've been doing it for a while. Um, yeah, I remember that we mentioned it to you somewhere in Connecticut where you bought a house. You had a house in
Yeah,
Stamford,
yeah, you
Connecticut.
guys came over. I think we're looking at and doing his arbitrage deal. Yeah, that was.
Yes, we weren't very decisive on that spot either. We didn't know exactly the business model, how it's going to work with a house. We were doing it with apartments, so a lot smaller investments at a time. Um,
But
I
hey,
want,
that's what we do, right? Like it's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You don't have to be stuck to one like a job, right? Like you can okay, let's try this, and you basically pretty much trying what works, what doesn't, and then find what you like, you enjoy to do, and like what you're good at, and then you kind of go all in and maximize, and that's kind of how you grow and where you maximize your potential.
yes, I have to make a little bit justice here because a lot of my listeners know that I used to own Airbnbs and I transitioned out of it. I sold the properties. The reason is being in a market that I was in the Pocono Mountain area. It became oversaturated, the market. So I'll give you a quick example. When I first purchased my property there, my first property there, we were 17 listings. And I became number one because I made it luxury. People had homes that weren't fixed. They were just homes rented for like 20 plus years and they were making steady money. But I came in with a beautiful property, remodel, and I started charging $300-400 a night and I was making a killing. So everybody wanted to do the same thing. But then COVID happened. And during COVID, people wanted to move away and they came in to live in my Airbnb for a while. And then the actual tenants, the actual guests, bought houses in the same community with me. So they became my competition and they start moving. In about 2 years, I was over 600 listings. Today, there are over 800 listings in that same community. And the rental price point dropped under $200 a night. So barely covers my mortgage for a long-term rental. So I've decided to just sell and move on into the commercial space. That was my personal option. The Airbnb business model is still amazing. We're still going to do it. Even the syndication model that I have, we have the possibility of converting this place, not converting per se, but we have the possibility of renting midterm, doing midterm rentals. We are looking for a management company like you or like yours into that specific market where we are. We're in Vegas right now. So I'm still in the space. I know the model. I'm still doing it, but not on the single family homes anymore, at least not here in my market. I'm going to be looking as soon as I'm going to move to Dallas, if that's a good market for that kind of business or not.
Yeah.
I want to move on and on the action step. So I'm gonna move on to the next question. What was the biggest mistake that cost you greatly? But before I go there, I just want to go back to the personal development event that happened in your life. Then the businesses that you started while you had a W-2, you start acquiring properties, so you start investing actively in real estate. So pretty much you created a cushion. And at one point when you had enough money, looks like, and COVID happened, you were able to switch and do the transition, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was again bigger pockets, a huge. I was really immersed. Like I would just listen, hours up and living in Connecticut at the time, commuting to Manhattan. So like I had a good hour and a half on a train. I would just listen to podcasts, bigger pockets and other guys. Just immersed myself, and yeah, that's where I bought my first kind of house hack. Now they call them. I think back in the day it wasn't as popular, but now it picked up even more. And then kind of yeah, looking back 5 years, and I'm a big believer. A lot of the times people say, "Oh, I want it now." Like I want everything now. I can't wait. And with real estate, as you know, it's kind of the long-term game. So yeah, looking back, that's basically I was
Yeah.
able, leave my W-2, start a business and all like it's some shape or form with real estate, right? Owning, managing,
Yeah, you're
um,
in the same space,
like
yes.
renovating. Yeah, I mean, I did, yeah, pretty much bought a basically a duplex. I lived in one, renovated. So I did a lot of the things, and now I kind of found my niche with the management side, which I still in the real estate space, but it's not as like flipping or doing that type of stuff.
I want to ask you a tangent question. It has to do with money. So, because I know you do spend a lot of money in personal development a year, and the reason why I know is because I see you at all these events. Like when I see Roman at this event, cha-ching, I know a price tag for that. But I start seeing it at least in Facebook and when I follow you and stuff like that. I start seeing you showing up at lots of events. So roughly in the past 5 years, how many events have you attended, roughly?
It's got to be like 3 to 4, and then again, depends. It's a mix, right? So I would say, and again, given COVID was like everything shut down. So, but at least do like 2 or 3 a year in some shape or form. Either it's personal development or like the conference. Again, it's something more specific now. Remember when I was back in like that kind of go-go, I would just consume everything. I would probably go once a month just to be exposed to the people, to the to the subject. I was in the multifamily space learning a ton, but like now I kind of figured my lane. So it's probably 2 to 3. That doesn't counting like my local meetups, all that. Like again, you gotta be
Yeah.
like it's a nonstop, right? Like you can't. I think people think, oh, I'm done. I just graduated from college. Like this is it. That's it. No, I think it's the beginning. Like when you actually, that's where the actual learning skill set, you start acquiring skill sets, learning what others are doing, because all the school and college stuff, I mean, it's kind of hardly you can apply to your day-to-day business.
I feel like a dinosaur in this space, so I'll tell you why. Because right now you have ChatGPT, so you can ask any question there, you're going to find the answer. You need a business plan, it's like 30 seconds and you got it. And any kind of business model, any kind of question, syndication question, even transferring, even accountant questions you can ask there, and you get the right answers, correct? So you have so many tools, and there's so many tools available right now. We started with the books. There was no chat GPT, or YouTube wasn't at least to the point where it is today, where you can ask any question to find the answer for it. So there's so many tools available out there. But in this race, because at the end of the day, it is a race of personal development or becoming entrepreneur, you do have to be uncomfortable. You have to be happy uncomfortable. You have to realize that being uncomfortable just makes you grow. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking to get knowledge. I used to read a lot of books, and then from the books, there were events with special people. And Joe Dispenza is one of the persons that I never got to go to, because his events are already sold out. Every time I'm looking, it's sold out again. And they usually open up for a very short period of time. Tony Robbins, I couldn't get to his live event last year, the one in November. I was looking to go back to a different event with him, and they have them online right now. So they're available online. I think there's a difference between the online event and the in-person event. Huge one. The one-on-one connection with the people, and the second one is the exercises that you're doing. You're a lot more connected with the whole event. You're getting the zone, I think, when you go into a live event. So I'm a big fan of live events, and I can't recommend them enough, but they're very expensive though. They're not cheap. They pretty much every event that I go to, and I have to travel out of state, it comes at around $5,000, more or less, between flight, hotel, and the actual event, and the things that I have to do around there. They're getting expensive. But then again, I am doing more than 2 to 3 events a year. I'm doing 4 to 5 events a year, and they're in conjunction with the hard work that you just mentioned. Real estate events, I don't think I missed one in the Poconos here where I am. The issue that I'm having is they're not enough. They get rescheduled and canceled. There's a Rotary Club, a local Rotary Club, that has 2 different events. They have like a daytime Rotary Club, and they have a nighttime Rotary Club. The actual Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce, that's where all the business people meet. They have at least one event a month in person that I go to. And then all these masterminds and things that I just mentioned, front row dads that I just signed up for. Evoke is the name of the Go Abundance mentorship.
Emerge.
Emerge. Exactly.
Yeah, but
That's the
also
next one on my list. I want to sign up as soon as.
I would like also caution, like, just don't go overboard with these, right? As long as you kind of figure it out what you're doing, because you can get sidetracked with there's always something going on, right? Like, and it's
Yes,
as long as it's
yes.
not distracting you for what you're doing or where you want to go. And again, it's yeah, because you can go to event every week or every weekend, but
Yeah, you
like,
run
are
out of
you
money
actually,
quick. I did that math. You run out of money quick.
or are you actually doing, like, because you can go to these and then kind of hop to these seminars and stuff, but actually, are you implementing what you learn, right? I think that's I would kind of caution your
That's
audience.
very,
Are
yes.
you using this, right? Because it's one thing to go and like, oh, let me go another one, but yeah, just same thing with books. Like reading, it's fine, but are you actually implementing those things that you just learned? So it's yeah, good. You read 50 books. Okay, did you implement anything from at least one thing from every book?
Yeah, exactly. I have this, I keep showing it. So the way the learning activities work, right? Teaching something, you retain 90%. If you're teaching
Exactly. Yeah.
something that you know, yeah, building and constructing and completing is about 70% retention. Discussing about a book or a project, it gives you about 50% retention. Observing, most of the times from the distance, is about 30% retention. Seeing and hearing is about 20% retention. Reading is 10% retention, and
And listening.
listening
Yeah.
on audiobook, it's a 5% retention. So I found that my retention was actually under 1%. That's why you see all the books behind me and the stash that I have on my desk. Very rarely I pick up a book and I decide to make it a study. And this is what I do with fanatical prospecting. If there's something that I'm working constantly and I'm studying, is fanatical prospecting. I also did that with the Unleash the Power Within, the book from Tony Robbins. I went through it as studying the book, and the one thing, Eat That Frog. So there's some books, even the Hal Elrod book. When I started doing the Miracle Morning, this was back in 2016, 2017, I think, when he first wrote it. When I started doing that, I had to implement every morning. So that's the key to success right there. But most of the years go by, and then I find out, I'm not doing that anymore. My Miracle Morning right now is a variation of Miracle Morning. It's not even the 5-6 steps that he had: the reading, listening, meditating. I'm not doing that anymore. I have a complete different routine that I developed over the years, because I know what works for me. So I'm implementing in my own personal way. I want to go over to the next thing, which was the biggest mistake that cost you greatly, because I want to emphasize that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be wrong in business and life and things that we do. It's totally okay. We all did it. We all have it. And that's the reason of this question.
I wouldn't say mistake because I think it just you when you say, people think, oh, I failed or I made a mistake. No, you just made it this like it was with information you had at that moment, right? You just had no other way of knowing. And now looking back, oh yeah, I made a mistake. Well, yeah, because you're in the future basically from that point. So I mean, I'm actually trying to think. It's maybe my mindset's already looking at that way. It's like it's not a mistake.
I
It's
think
just
you're
there's almost a reason behind I made something because I'm in this position now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, right? And I think especially with like real estate, like, oh man, I should have fixed that before now something blew up. Or perfect example, we had, like frozen, well pipes at the property. And I was, oh man, I should have inspected that before the winter came, but like I had no way of knowing, right? So it's kind of hard for me to kind of answer that because there's been so many different things that either I missed or just ignored, and then they came up, and now I'm like, okay, that's a learning
I'm totally happy with the
lesson.
answer, by the way, and I appreciate the honesty here. The point is that if you are looking from a future moment back in time, exactly, it's not even, you're right. I should not call it a mistake. It should be a challenge, right? How did you overcome that challenge? Maybe it should have been a better question for it. And I'm going to rephrase and maybe delete this word out of my vocabulary, because we do have lots of challenges through life, and we overcome these challenges based on the experience and knowledge we have at that specific moment,
Yeah,
right?
it's
That's
challenges. It's definitely, yeah, it's like that you're out of your comfort zone. You're just like, oh man, this is uncomfortable because I've never been here before. And
okay.
you're making these decisions, and then you kind of you don't, I guess having the faith that no one's going to work out, but you just don't know how it's going to work out. That's what kind of keeps you going.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I'll take it as an answer, and it's really great. It's a new perspective for me, and I appreciate it because I didn't see it that way. I was literally looking like, oh my God, when I shut down my Turo business, that was a mistake because it exploded a month later. I have no
Oh yeah,
idea.
looking back,
Yeah,
maybe
look.
I'll give you one. All right, I'll give you one. I got maybe again it's as a shiny object. I got into Amazon business, like
Okay.
right 21, yeah, 2020 COVID hit, and I worked remotely, and I was like, oh man, like I gotta be. There's other way I can use my time, right? I can't just sit here and kind of do my work. And I got into Amazon, like again, the whole thing was driven by money. And I think now, like if you're driven by money, this is not going to last, right? Because if any hard movement or anything hard, you lose money, you need to put more money into the business, and you're like purely driven by the money aspect. So I think I lasted about a year, and then, it worked a little bit, but again, I wasn't really passionate. I was after the money, and that was looking back. But hey, I learned a ton about Facebook ads, all the cool features, software that you can use. I'm actually going to use now. I'm building an online course for my kind of short-term rental business, sharing with other folks, kind of walking through my experience, how to build a successful property management business. Again, right? I could have said that was a failure back then, but now I'm using what I learned, the skills I can implement what I'm doing now. So it's always fun. Like, yeah, probably when I was in it or at the end, I was like, oh man, I should have done it. Shouldn't have done that. But now I'm 2 years, 3 years out. I'm like, oh, I can learn that. I know how to do this, or at least I know there's something that's possible, right? Like all these cool, Facebook ads, what you can do with social media,
You're
applying to my business now.
you're bringing it a very, very interesting point, and it goes very deep. It has layers and layers. I'm not going to go too deep in it, but you're right. I'm reading Course in Miracles, the book, right? It's a book of God and who we are and how we present ourselves here on earth. And when material comes in and money in play, money, it's something that is not real, right? Everybody knows that money is not real. It's just a value that we put on this thing that we call money. It's not real. What's real is love. So if you have that lens of love, then money are not real. You already know it. When you start a business or things like that, you should be looking through that lens, and then you come out of love, motivated, and it helps everybody around you, not just yourself. So the point is not to get rich. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because I'm at service to people. And pretty much this is what you do. Your company gives a service to a lot of people with huge turnaround. If it was just the hospitality industry, you would help hotels if you were up there. But doing what you're doing, you're helping every single guest that comes in, depends on your ability to execute your business plan.
Yeah, 100%. I think I was just walking through two properties today, and the two ladies, yeah, one is selling the property they can't sell, and they thinking about doing a short-term rental to compensate their expenses. Another one, she's retiring. She has like a guest house on her property. She wants to make additional income, right? It's all about, it's just a vehicle, right? Any business, but especially it's just a vehicle. But I'm helping folks to get where they want to go, and
You're
they
helping
happen to be in real estate, renting their properties and managing for them.
you're helping multiple layers and multiple people here. You're helping the guest, you're helping the owners because you're somewhere above or you're in between them, and you're doing this from a totally different space because you came to the point where money were not um, needed to pay the rent or pay the bills tomorrow. Money are there and they're gonna come as long as you present yourself at a 5-star rating. And I know you, and I can't say I know you. I know how you show up. Every time we have a conversation, the first thing you do is give me value, including today. The first thing you
Yeah.
did, hey, "How you doing, Silvius?" First thing it was, "Do you know about this app that does this kind of quality?" And I'm interested in it, and it's definitely going to help me. It's going to move my business forward, and you added value to me. So if you look into that lens, and this is what you do, I know for sure this is. I checked your reviews, by the way, and I see the 5-star reviews, and I see what people say, and I got inspired. I did the same exact thing with my Airbnbs. I'm like, okay, what do you need? An extra bed? I'm gonna give you an extra bed. I don't care how much it's gonna cost. I just want you to be happy now because I know it's gonna have ripple effects in the future for me. So I had the customer in mind and at heart to begin with. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what you're
money
doing.
will follow, right? As long as you do good, and then you're really passionate about what you do, and you're good at it. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, you got to find not as much as you're passionate, but you can make the most money." But I think it has to be combination.
Yeah, the counter argument here would be a lot of people, I'm sure they're going to say, how can you say that you're not doing this for money when you're doing a property management? Because it sounds so stiff. Like you have a property manager, what are you talking? You're doing it for money, getting commission, right?
Yeah,
They don't even see the ins and outs and the help and what involves and the level of commitment that you and other operators like yourself are putting into those businesses, and the result, the financial result that comes after it, it cannot be matched because it's the love that comes out of you and the work and the sweat and everything else. So I really appreciate that. I want to go into a topic that is very dear to me, and pretty much this is what my podcast is shaping around. As an entrepreneur, me personally, and I'm going to become a little bit vulnerable here. Me personally, I went through issues with my wife into my relationship because I'm the kind of guy who generates ideas, but I'm also the kind of guy that does not stick with them for too long because of the shiny
okay.
object, right? I read another book, another strategy comes up, hope I want to do that. So I created an imbalance as an entrepreneur in my home with my wife, and luckily I had a little bit of help from friends like you and people that suggested books and how to self-help right away. So I'm a man, and I'm driven by solving the problem, right? The challenge. I'm a problem solver. I jumped into something right away, and I was extremely lucky that it took me and my wife on the right track. And now we're jump starting our relationship from a totally different point. We have to do everything in common, and we love to do everything in common. We want to do everything in common. So we started looking for bridges. Like, can we go to the gym together? Can we take the kids out to the park together? Can we start a business together, which is extremely challenging? This is the next thing that we're up to right now. We're building a business together. Can we decide together to move to a specific spot? So you as an entrepreneur, you just congratulations on the marriage. I know you're newly married, but you also went through you've experienced kind of this friction that comes in when you put too much time into your business and you don't balance enough, because in my personal experience I didn't know how to do that. So how do you manage the situation that you have the business? Are you the businessman first and the husband second, or you're the husband that owns a business?
No, I'm a husband that owns a business, and I think to kind of answer your question, it has to be communication. That's number one. And my goal, we have at least one date night per week, like we do normally Friday or Saturday, just to go, whatever, dinner or park or anything. And the big one is communication. Like, let's say I'm in the building phase, so my wife knows, okay, I can, like yesterday, I worked till like 9 o'clock,
I'm
and
taking
that's
notes,
fine.
guys.
Right, as long as we all, both parties are on the same page and there's a communication behind it, and we know, okay, we have this goal, we're building the business, it's gonna get easier, it's gonna be different after we, go from point A to point B. But obviously, if there's no communication, you just kind of do your thing, and she doesn't know what you're up to, you're always, working, you're not here. That's where the problem starts coming in. And I think I've been blessed to with my wife. She's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, you've been working too much. We got to do something." All right. It's been a while since we did X or Y, and I think having that communication, it's a key. Hey, same thing on your side. It doesn't have to be just on her. Like you need to like almost schedule, put in your calendar. Okay, I got to stop, take 2 hour break, just go hang out with my wife. Um, because at the end of the day, like if you don't have time, you just, I guess it's a choice not to have time for your significant other. Because for some reason you have time for anything else, writing emails, do whatever that business you're in. But if you can prioritize and schedule your time with your wife, then it's a win-win for everybody.
I'm taking notes and I'm going to tell you what I wrote because these two are new to me. Date night once per week. Well, we've been married for a long time. We have kids. They're 7 years old now. And I can tell you this much. We didn't have a date night in 7 years. Like
Yeah, there you go. Do
we did
that.
everything that we could at home for our kids and everything else, but date night went out of the window. Definitely, I can afford getting a nanny and spending a couple hours away from my kids, and they're probably going to enjoy it a lot better than me yelling at them, right?
Exactly. Yep, there you go.
That's one. And the communication one, it's something new to me. Is a concept new that I never heard of before. Scheduling 2 hours break a day to spend with your wife and prioritize that. This is something that I've never heard of before, but I guess it's totally doable because we're spending time in the gym, but it's not that intentional. It is intentional to the point that we're working out together, so we have to be there. But I think I'm gonna add to these 2 hours intentional time.
Yeah, again, doesn't have to be every day, right? It's more, for example, if we having dinner, like I'm not looking at my phone, I don't have my phone, we're not watching something as we're eating. Like it's more, hey, how was your day? Right? It's just being there with her. Because think about it, if I'm here with you, I'm present, right? I'm giving you my time and you're giving me your time.
That's
Same
exactly
thing,
my note.
same
Be
thing with
present.
your spa. Like you're there. It's not just, oh, it's more like something that you do. Like I'm here with you. How was your day? And I'm here with you 100% present.
Roman, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Definitely, I'm taking this to heart. I took the 2 hours because it sounded good. I'm spending about an hour at the gym, so I thought I'm gonna add another hour. I'm like, how about I'm gonna be intentional maybe at night, maybe before dinner and the kids when I'm intentional with my wife alone, because this will create a healthier communication bridge that I lack right now. I don't have this bridge. It's just because we live in the same house, we coexist together, but we
Yeah, and
mind
I
our own
think that's
stuff.
what a lot of the time you just go in the motions. You're just there because you're there. You're physically there. And I would
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
we just started this like getting now, we're gonna do at least like a once a month, so more like review our vision, look at, because like I have my goals, she has her goals. It's like I have my vision board, she has her vision board, but we're gonna work on our vision board, right? Like it's basically I like to look at there's two individual, like two free people. Like I'm independent, she's independent. I'm not a big believer in the whole, um, she's my half, I'm her half. No, I'm full and she's full, and we just want to maximize our potentials together. So I'm a big believer in again having this monthly. I know some people do like weekly, kind of sit down together, go through their goals. How was your week? But I think again, it's just a little bit more. It becomes more robotic of all these goal setting. Like there's a lot of the time you just want to be, you want to live, not just being all like goal oriented. But
Yeah, I think
definitely setting that time, be intentional.
once a month review my vision. I don't even have a vision board. So I used to when I was in M1, and then I moved and I didn't build it, and I know it takes a long time. It took me months and months to create a vision board. Now I'm kind of a mental vision board. I know the house that I want. I know material things that I want. I just can't pinpoint it on a vision board for what I want with my kids and family because I kind of touched everything on my last vision board. So
Mhm.
I am going to review and revisit the vision boards, and I also have to review her vision board. Now, this is one of the issues we're having right here. I don't think she has one, and I don't think she ever had one, and I'm not even sure if she's at that stage of development where she's willing to create one just because I said so. It's nice to have a vision board. So you see, you're a little bit in your relationship, you're a bit more advanced than I am. You're a bit farther across, although you started your relationship a lot. It's more fresh than mine,
Yeah.
right? So you just started yours, but I think having vision boards right there, it tells you something about that individual and about the relationship to begin with. I had it, I don't have it. She doesn't have it at all. I'm gonna have to cross this thing to the point where she gets to create a vision board, and we're gonna create these together vision boards. So this is work in progress for me. I thank you very much for the suggestion. I'm gonna have to see exactly how she's gonna get to that point so we can create this. So even if it's gonna take me a while, I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah, and I think it's not the last thing you want to do, like force or like, oh, you need to get one because I have one, right? It's more
yeah, no,
just like,
absolutely not. That's what I said. It's gonna take a while if it's ever gonna happen for us, a vision board.
yeah, she needs to, again, like the same with anything, like you want to be, I wouldn't say pushed, but more like pulled of, oh yeah, let me do this is fun, right? Like let's just create, and maybe you can like, hey, let's create our future. Let's see how it looks. Let's put in a photo, right? Let's be creative, versus like, oh yeah, we want to make, 10 million bucks or something like, just like, oh yeah, let's have this, and then more like put a visual, print it out, and just kind of turn into a game. So that way it's not like you're forcing it as a chore or as a goal. Oh, we got to create. But it has to like flow with you. You have to be in a great state to do that. Like it's not just otherwise. If you can just cut pieces of paper from magazines, they don't mean anything if you're not really feeling, putting intentions into it.
Exactly. Well, that's what happened to my first vision board. There were just pieces of paper. It was the first time when I heard about a vision board, and then when I really wanted to revisit, I realized like 90% of the goals that I had in that vision board weren't even mine. They were
Yeah.
borrowed from people that I've met, like including yourself. I think you or somebody else mentioned about a trip with G-35 airplane in Russia that goes out of space. You know, it ended up on my vision board. Like, I want to go out of space. I dreamt about it for a few weeks, and I'm like, God damn it, I don't want to go out of space. It's not my dream.
Yeah.
I borrowed from somebody else. And when it comes down to relationship and family, I think something that I'm working on is creating a safe space. And this is something that men, including myself, are guilty of not doing enough for our significant other. So creating space means, I'm going to borrow this from Hal Elrod, right? Loving your wife unconditionally. And the key to success of having a successful marriage, like he said today, and it stuck with me, was love your existing wife
Ah, that's a good one.
unconditionally, continuously, constantly, and have the commitment to actually share it. And he asked me directly, he says, Silvius, when was the last time when you wrote a note or a letter personally to your wife and handed over to her? And I had to admit, never. The vows that we exchanged when we got married, that was about it. I don't think intentionally I've ever done anything like that. And I'm a man, and I recognize my flaws is when it comes down to relationships. I never done that. And when my wife needs to secure the safety, right? Because she needs the safety more than I do, because I'm the man, I'm the bread maker, right? And she needs that safety. I offered that safety under certain circumstances. Like I thought safety is always material, it's always about money. Like, oh, you don't have enough money in the bank. Like, what are you talking about? You don't feel safe with me. She's like, no. You got to look at other things. So I start creating a little bit of space where I allow her to speak. And how do I do that? I usually just shut up.
Yeah, I gotta listen. A lot of
Yeah, I
times
think
people solve problems, but they just no, just they want to be heard.
yeah, listening is one of the things that kings or entrepreneurs, the spiritual people that go into these journeys head in first, learning the business and jumping into businesses like that. I think I personally, I'm learning my initial steps on listening. And this is probably going to be my key to success in my relationship. If I get this
Less is
down,
more. Less is more. Just listen.
yeah, being the quiet guy in the room, right? Listening to everybody else, not the guy yelling and screaming how good he is. That's
Exactly.
kind of the takeaway that I got from Hal today when he was sharing his work. Awesome, man. How are we doing with time? I see we go in a little bit over time here. I enjoy the conversation so much that I don't want to stop, but please let me know. Do you have a few more minutes so we can
Yeah,
go
we're
over the
good.
books?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm bringing this raw to you guys. Sometimes I go overboard. I get taken away by the conversation, and I can talk to Raman for days. We didn't even got into the personal development events that we recently did. So on the personal development tools, what are you using today?
Dude, I've been using combination of Miracle Morning, but the big one, meditation is huge, right? I do it twice, morning and must, and then I do midday. Um, Sometimes I do at night, but it's more something more like a calming music, and then just kind of relax. But yeah, morning it's a must, 10 to 15 minutes, and then 5 day quick midday to just kind of recharge. So that was a big game changer. Puts me into more balanced state, focus, and obviously, physical. You go to the gym at least 5 or 6 times a week. Reading, all those kind of following pretty much the Miracle Morning again in a different order or in different kind of mix. But that's been super, super helpful. Again, I think I'm that new person that I kind of evolved throughout the years using the different techniques.
Man, that's awesome. Can you tell us what kind of meditation do you listen to in the morning? Like, is it a guided meditation? Is it a
Yeah, it's guided
transcendental
again.
meditation?
I mean, I kind of mix it up. So again, nothing. I find something. There's YouTube has a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I like them guided. Um, that way I don't have to think about catching myself when I'm like drifting away. Even though I'm still, again, it's the mind always racing. But I like guided for sure. Like there's like a breath work involved.
Okay, that's awesome. Breath work is it just comes to me today as an I did an exercise today, and I'm gonna share with you guys. I didn't do the exercise. I've learned about the exercise today, to be correct. One of the guests that we had today in this summit that I was part of, he mentioned a routine that I'm going to post it up here, and I posted on Facebook. He said every day he's taking 30 minutes of silence out in nature by himself with no cell phone or any other devices around him. And he is not doing any breath work. He's not doing any work whatsoever. He just sits with himself and he has a notepad next to him. And this was transformational for him. And I pledged that I'm going to do this as well. He does 30 minutes a day, which is a huge commitment, 7 days a week. And in that silent meditation, he just allows himself to receive the information that he actually needs and things that he works on. And they gave us about 5 minutes break. And in that 5 minutes break, I did a little bit of the exercise. And I realized that I have to call this guy, Salvatore, who was in M1, who's
Oh,
doing breath
I
work.
think I know him. Yeah,
Yeah, you know him for sure because he was in Tony Robbins. He was working for what's his
Rock.
name?
Yeah,
Brock
yeah.
Thomas for a while. Yeah, he was one of,
That's
but
actually
he's
a good
doing now
point because
breath work.
that's where I that's where yeah, in that calm space, that's where things come to you. Like during my again, perfect example, my midday 5 minute meditation, that's where like I get a lot of answers to my questions or things I need to do or how I should approach them. So I'm 100%. I mean, I like this practice to I have actually literally like a little park right outside of my apartment building. So I mean, I can do that. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
take out.
this is combined with nature and grounding. If you can, I'm gonna add that to it. He didn't mention grounding, but I know how important it is because you get the positive energy from the sun and it goes through you and you ground yourself to the ground. So being grounded, listening to the birds or whatever it is going on outside, being immersed in nature, because we need this. That's when you get your thoughts in order. On the 5 minutes meditation that you do at lunch, um, I am doing a 10 minutes meditation, usually at lunch. And you know, when you feel sleepy a little bit, it's that time of day. I actually do a recharge meditation when I do a focus meditation. I found it on YouTube for free. I can leave it in the comments somewhere. It's a focus meditation. It just brings me back focus to the task in hand, and I plow through it for the rest of the day. And that's what I do when I have important stuff. I don't do it every day. I do it when I know that I'm sleepy now. I'm like, that's it. I need to do that meditation quick.
No, and even fine. I'll let myself maybe even sleep for a minute or two. I think that's fine. Like you just recharge, right? Like you're, and then, kind of, I just did before our call. It gives you that, you like it almost chunks kind of your day before and after versus plowing through the day. You have these kind of before and after. So I really found this really helpful. It doesn't, again, it depends on my day. I did it today around like 2:30 because I was, busy during the first half of the day. So again, you got to find what works for you, but that's what works for me. The big one, I have to do it like the first one in the morning. It's a must. Otherwise, my day is like it's not the same.
A quick question for you, because I know a habit takes about 67 days to become a habit. Do you have these embedded as habits now? So you've done it for over 67 days?
Oh yeah, they've been like for 5, 6 years now. Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's very important out there. I just want to point it out. It's not going to happen to you if you just do it once or twice and then that's it. You forget about it. It has to be a habitual thing. You're training your brain for something else. You're rewiring. You're creating new neural connections. That's
And
what
I
you
think
do.
even if you miss a day or two, I know a lot of the folks like, oh yeah, I missed a day or two, so no point of me doing it again. No, like as long as you get back to it, that's the whole point of like never giving up and just miss a day or two, get back to it. Same thing with gym or I mean anything like consistency. That's where you win. It's not like gradual. It's like it's the journey, right? Like you're becoming that person who meditates, who works out, who eats healthy. It just takes time. And like you're gonna look back 2, 3 months out and like, oh yeah, I do that. I don't even that's just part of who I am. Like it's I'm not forcing myself. I don't have to make a note. I just do that. Like I'm drawn, I'm pulled to do that. Because like if I don't work out a day or two, I'm like I get itchy. I'm like, okay, I gotta go work out or gotta go for a run. It just becomes a part of you.
I know you run because you're an Iron Man, right? You
Yes, I
do.
am an Iron Man.
You are for sure. That's what I heard for the first time with Iron Man. It was you. You posted it on a group or something, a picture of joining the
Yes,
first challenge. I think it was a race, the first one you did. I think it
big
was.
one. Yeah, it took me 4 years in the making, right, with COVID and a lot of. But again, once you put your mind to it and just again, obviously there were days I didn't train, I didn't want to do it, but like having that ultimate goal, like and like knowing, having faith, you're gonna do it. Like it'll just happen, event inevitable. Same thing with business. Perfect example with my W-2. I was like, oh man, I want to like leave tomorrow, right? But it's not, it just, I worked on it for like 10 years. I can't just turn around and leave, right? Because this has became who I was, but now it's going to take some time for me to kind of shift my mindset, reprogram to be a business owner. And then, I'm going to leave when I'm ready. I remember I was asking around people, well, so how do I know when I need to quit? And they were like, trust me, you'll know, right? And now I kind of looking back, I'm like, yeah, like you'll know, right? Like your side hustle or your business will become more important than your job will be basically a distraction. And that's when you'll know, okay, I need to leave, like, because this is, I have something going on. And I feel more confident leaving because I'm not as attached to that identity being that, being that employee because I have all these things going on for me.
Or you can get fired, like it happened to my last guest. He got fired from the job, and then he got in overdrive and he became an entrepreneur. He decided
There
to
you
open
go.
his own
Yeah.
company.
That's more like, kind of, okay, I'll show you, right? Like
Yeah,
that's a big, kind of fire under your belly. Like, okay, let's do this type of thing,
use
right? So
use that energy as fuel. That's exactly what you're saying. Yes, use that fuel as energy to take you to the next level into your business or whatever endeavor you're doing. Yeah, you can do that too. It's not pleasant when it happens, but it you can turn it around. I use people sometime I use people as fuel. Like I had a guy that pissed me off for something years ago, and he calls me today. I remember that state of mind, and I do have a guy who actually said, I was telling him, "Hey, I bought my second property. This and that's." Like, yeah, come on, man, get out of here with your real estate stuff. It's not gonna happen for you. So he said that jokingly. He wasn't supportive, but he was a friend of mine for a while. I hung up the phone. I didn't answer the phone for years. And when I got to my third, fourth, and I was still going on properties, um, I'm like, I'm not going to answer this guy until I get to 10 properties, and then I'm going to call him back. So I use that energy that I have from that relationship. Every time he was calling me, because he was still calling me, I didn't answer, but I looked at him like, okay, I'm property number 3. I got to get one more. Thank you, Alex, by the way. His name is Alex. He's from Connecticut. Good friend of mine. I used that because he was in a different state of mind. I was in a different state of mind. I just used the energy. I didn't do anything wrong. And I didn't do anything wrong in the relationship either. We're friends. We're still friends. We're going to be friends for a long time. I just used that energy from him in a different direction to fuel me, to take me into a different focus. What is your favorite book?
can you pause for a second? I just got to reply this text.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yes. Instead of pausing, I think I'm going to post a couple of books that I have here on my desk, just purchased.
So let me see. No, what is it?
Oh no, I have so many. I gotta keep doing it. Like I literally bought about 30 books in the past. I have a stash of them. I can read them to you, but there's so many. Your next 5 moves: master the art of business strategy.
Yeah, I read this. Patrick Pet Davis. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's that. The Silva method.
I'm not.
Okay, this one is envision, pretty much bring the future into the present with your mind. You just see in the future bringing this is structuring and raising debt equity for real estate. Of course, building a real estate empire, right?
Okay.
These are things that how to legally raise private money, because there are legal ways and not so legal ways. A lot of people are doing it wrong. A return to love, Marianne Wilson, right? Go for no in networking marketing. I read this book, and Mick from Canada, he recommended me this book about 6-7 years ago. I read it, and now I'm going back to it because there was something there that I did not. And this is a workbook for it. The Ultimate Proof of Successful Business.
Oh yeah. The Keith Cunningham. Yeah.
Yep, Keith. Man, I'm gonna go through the whole thing now that I have the spiel for 1 minute. Your life well spent.
Okay. No, I haven't
Okay.
read
The Trust Economy. These are books that I just got. This one I've read. This one is As a Man Thinketh. It's the
Yeah,
book
it's classic.
that David Osborne's favorite book, by the way. He recommended it me years ago on Goodreads. I had a conversation with him. This is another guest of mine that he was in my previous podcast. I didn't publish yet. He's from Philadelphia. Will Little. This is his somewhat face. The Lords of Easy Money. This book was, I think I'm going to stop for a second on this one. This book here, it's a history of Federal Reserve. How the Federal Reserve broke the American economy. and it goes hand in hand with Jerkwill Island or Jakewill Island.
Yeah, Jekyll, yeah, when they met back in like 1911,
1907, I think the first met in 1907. In 1911 was the formation of Federal Reserve already. That's when they decided to actually put in place the plan that they had. So what's your favorite book today?
I read I like the who not how. That's for the business, right? It's more about delegation. That really eye-opening of valuing your time and delegating stuff. That was again
Who, not how. I've
who
read
not
that book.
how. Yeah, that's really massive. Trying to understand like versus and yeah, I need to. How can I do it versus who can help me do this? It's really applicable, especially in the business sense as you kind of grow and need to delegate and trusting people who can help you do, help you build your business versus just doing everything yourself.
Yeah, that's an amazing book. I read it a few years ago, and it had an impact for me.
I'm reading, well, I finished with that because I have a bunch of good one. The blitz scaling is a good one. It's
Blitz
around blitz
scaling?
scaling. Yeah, it's like
No, I don't have that one. Blitz scaling.
business/marketing. Again, on figuring out what you're good at and kind of pouring all your money and resources and like scaling.
Yeah, I went
Big
to a
leap,
seminar about scaling.
Big leap is a good one. The big leap kind of talks about your blind spots and your kind of your limited, almost like a ceiling, your internal thermostat, right? When you're almost sabotaging your success because you have the internal limited beliefs that are stopping you. Or like, for example, you had a success, but then you turn around and like do something.
Yep, that's me right there, selling all my properties all of a sudden when I'm a successful investor. Big leap is a
Big
leap.
leap,
Faith.
yep, big
Okay.
leap. A lot of like, if you see a lot of celebrities or athletes, they win big and then they go do something stupid, right? Because their internal thermostat is not used to that success or not used to that, being in that different environment. And they're like, okay, I got to do something to go back to what I feel comfortable, right? Where I feel used to being in that spot.
All right, so this is the one right here.
Yes, yep, the big leap.
Okay, that's it. Purchased. I'm buying as we speak, man. It's these are things that I'm gonna do it on audio. Yeah, these are things that really have to stay with me because I'm still a junkie when it comes down to books. And
Yeah,
that
but again, as you remember, you showed me that pyramid, you're at that 5%. Make sure what I found in your technique, like as I read, I take notes like in a spreadsheet and find out, things, aha moments, and at least get like the one thing you're gonna implement from that book and actually do it versus just kind of reading, oh, okay, I read the book and put it aside. So I would
yeah, I
challenge you to do that. And the same for all your books that you got. At least take one thing and then implement.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm proud to admit that I've been doing throughout the years since I started my personal development in 2016. I remember the core of the book, and that's what stays with me. Like the one thing I remember the most important thing that you have to do first. And that's going to eliminate all other things that you have to do in that day. And that's kind of how I concentrate now. When I do my to-do list, I'm checking to see which one is the one that's going to eliminate everything else. Because it's always the scenario for me, for my days at least. So that's one of them. And every book, the Jerkwill Island, I remember the history behind it. And I remember when they removed the dollar behind the gold behind the dollar as a standard. So I every book that I read, I kind of remember the purpose of it. The difference between assets and liabilities with Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So things like that. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. I have one more question here to ask, and this is the one that you inspire me to put down for my guests. And there's a reason for it. It's the same one that you had asked me on our last conversation. If you had the option to pay for a mastermind that can fix all your current challenges in business And life, how much money would you pay for it today?
I think I would have more challenges, right? It's like big problems. You know, you want to have big problems because you're solving big ideas. I don't know, like it's like if I'm gonna fix all my challenges, I'm gonna get bigger challenges more because it's the way that's how you grow. It's like more challenges you have, the higher you grow. I mean, I don't know, 100,000.
100,000. Yeah. So you're a big thinker. You're taking it as it is. No, the point of the question was to see exactly where are you in your development. You teach me this technique, and I'm going to ask every guest from now on, because it gives me a sense, to me and everybody else, a sense to how developed the individual is and where exactly he's in his stage right now. So just so I can grasp with my reality and my perspective. And now I see exactly where you and I are standing, because we're probably on the same exact spot. I think I gave you the same answer when I thought about it.
Yeah, I think with again, I'm looking as an investment, right? If I have access to that, I can like 10x. So I'm looking
Absolutely.
from that perspective. Then like, oh yeah, let me fix my problems and that's it. No, like you're gonna open up to more like bigger things and bigger challenges.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, and we went way and beyond. This was supposed to be a 30-minute call, 45 minutes conversation, and we went to an hour and a half. But I appreciate all of it. I think I want to do it again with you. Maybe we get into different topics later on.
Yeah.
If there's something else that you want to give us, some of your secrets later on, when your course is going to be available and ready to launch, maybe we do something then.
Yeah, you'll be on my podcast because I'm thinking about launching. I'm thinking about around like August, so you might be my guest on my podcast.
It would be a pleasure. It'd be a pleasure to be a guest in your podcast, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you, Roman, and you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Just let me know, okay? Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.